Hello again. Well, day 4, and I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. It was early morning-ish. Early morning-ish. Yeah, that narrows it down. It was early morning, and I felt I was laying in bed, just sort of starting to drift off, and I felt something crawl along my arm. Now, I am not a fan of spiders. I don't know if that's what it was. It could have been a moth that had found its way in. It could have been anything. It could have been a demon for all I know. But in my head came the thing, it's a spider. There's a spider on you. You've still got a spider on you. There's a spider. Get it off! I quickly just brushed it off, and, and you'd think that would be the end of it. Whatever it was is gone. But the problem then is my brain said, you didn't brush it far enough. It's still around. It's going to crawl on you again. And I ended up having to get out of bed, turn my phone off, get out of bed, turn the lights back on, and thoroughly search my bed looking for this spider. I did not find it, and that meant that I was not going to feel comfortable in bed for the rest of the night. So I basically ended up just lying in bed, trying to get to sleep, with my brain going, there's a spider in bed. There's a spider in your bed, there's a spider in your bed, there's a spider in your bed, get rid of it, get out of bed, run! And just generally panicking about that, and I got to sleep at like 4 in the morning for about half an hour. But this does bring me nicely onto the subject of phobias. Let's have a quick word on that, shall we? Wrong side. Okay, so it turns out that a lot of people don't actually think of a phobia as anything to do with mental health or anxiety, whereas a phobia is in fact an anxiety disorder. By definition, a phobia is an irrational fear. I suppose that is the most layman's terms definition of it, is an irrational fear, which means that it does fall in the lines of an anxiety disorder. Now, to anyone without a particular phobia, they may well not think of that as anything to do with anxiety. It's just a quirk that someone has, Susan, she's afraid of birds. Isn't that strange? Well, yeah, but to Susan, seeing a pigeon on the lawn means that she may be taking the back door out of the house today, or waiting until it's gone before she leaves. See, a phobia can affect a person's life just as much as a panic disorder can. And I suppose the reason it's the least understood at large is because it's the most mainstream. There are differing opinions on the proportion of people that have a phobia. Some say it's around 8%, some say it's 15%. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that it's actually much higher, but because it's so mainstream to have a phobia now, like arachnophobia or ornithobia or something along those lines, that everyone just thinks it's normal, and that acceptance of it means that a lot of the time, even people with a phobia don't really understand it. I personally can't understand my fear of spiders. I don't understand my fear of oceans or lakes or deep water or anything else that fits into thalassophobia. I've never nearly drowned. I've never been bitten or attacked by a spider. And yet, being near any of the things that fit the bill can make me panic. Admittedly, I'm better with the spiders than I used to be. I can just about still be in a room with one if it's in the far corner and doesn't go anywhere. But as I mentioned earlier, if one of them crawls on me in the night, or I think one of them's crawled on me in the night, it's go away, get off, search the room. If you don't find it, you ain't going to be able to relax all night. And what it is, again, is basically the brain taking something that should be a normal situation and turning it into what feels like a survival situation, because you have the same response to a snake as you might to a charging rhino, as in the whole, there's the thing that I'm scared of over there, it's going to kill me, it's a moth, it's going to kill me, I'm leaving. A list of some of my phobias. There's arachnophobia, I'm afraid of spiders. Thalassophobia, I'm afraid of oceans and water depths, particularly if I can't see through them. I mean, I have to drink my tea through my teeth because I can't see down to the bottom of the cup, just in case there's something in there that I haven't noticed. Yeah, there's a degree of a phobia of ambulances. How can you be afraid of an ambulance? I don't understand it. Admittedly, that is the very lesser of my fears. If I've lost a leg or something and I'm bleeding out, I would quite happily go in an ambulance to save my life. One that I do know the origin of is I have a phobia of horses, which, when a lot of people hear that, they're astounded. How can you be afraid of horses? There's nothing scary about horses. You try being 5 years old and getting bit on the chest and basically lifted off the floor by one. That'll give you a bit of a mental conditioning to, that might be a bit dangerous. I'm gonna steer clear of it. And it's become so ingrained in me that it has become a phobia. I have the effects of severe anxiety attacks whenever I'm near a horse. I am trying to confront that one a bit. I do know people who take care of horses and who own horses, and so I'm kind of, whenever I get the opportunity, going along with them and trying to be in the vicinity of them. I have to say though, every time one of them, cause I will go up and give it a stroke, give it a ruffle on the neck, it's, yeah, that's great, please don't kill me. And if it moves unexpectedly, I find myself doing the same, as in the opposite direction. But for all the reasons I gave earlier as well, phobias are one of the most frustrating anxiety disorders because you can't explain it to anyone. For the most part, especially if it's one that you don't know the origins of, you can't explain why you're afraid of birds or flowers or beards or spiders or snakes or horses or ambulances or water. And so whenever anyone goes, oh, you're afraid of water? How can you be afraid of water? It's just water. I don't know. It just scares me. So what can we do about phobias? Well, it seems that the most commonly successful way is flooding, or what would more accurately be called exposure therapy. That's right, folks. You want to get over it, you gotta confront it a lot. You want a wonder drug that's going to cure you of a phobia? Probably ain't going to happen. It's pretty much either confront it to get over it or learn to live your life around it. And in some cases, well, that's when it gets awkward. Because when it's a fear of spiders, you may not be able to go into a room with one until someone's caught it and got it out of there for you. That severely cramps your lifestyle. And yet there are people with a fear of beards. And I apologise for mine if you are one of those. For this bit, I'll cover it up. How do you live your life around that? You go out on the street, you walk around, you are going to see someone with a beard. So how are you going to live your life around that? It means that phobias can be as limiting to a person's ability to function as severe panic attacks and anxiety disorders. And one clear example linking that is social phobia, which I will go into deeper explanation of in another video because I do intend to do one about social anxiety and social phobia. And that is a fear of interaction in various degrees. Some people it's a fear of using the phone, some people it's a fear of going outside where there are people. So if you're someone without a phobia, well, us with them really quite envy you. Well, at least I do. I can't speak for literally everyone with a phobia, but if you come across someone with a phobia, you might think it's fun to make jokes about it. And okay, it can be funny to make jokes about it, but for example, the thing where someone's caught a spider in a glass and they're carrying it past you out of the house, and for some reason they always have to go, do you want to see it? Do you want to see it? No. As an analogy, a very, very extreme analogy, that is like taking someone who's fallen off a cliff and broken their bones back to the top of the cliff and going, do you want to hang over the edge? Do you want to hang over the edge? Okay, yes, like I say, extreme analogy, but it can invoke the same sort of fears. It's when you make a joke out of it and just wave it in the person's face. Do you want to see it? Do you want to see it? Do you want to see it? No, get it away from me. So what you're doing there is not making a joke, it's instigating anxiety and panic. And as we saw in my first video, a panic attack is not a nice thing to force upon someone. So yeah, a joke's a joke, but just don't take it too far. Well, I've probably rambled a lot there and made very little sense because, as I say, I'm quite tired because I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Got enough to stave off sleep deprivation, but not enough to actually be awake right now. So I apologise if I've said nothing important, and hopefully I will say something more important in the next one. See you later, guys. Yeah, because I use humour as a defence mechanism, I meant to display this in the corner through that video. So if you just want to watch it again and imagine that's there, then, that'd be great. Cheers.